Did the Russo brothers confirm our worst Avengers 4 fears? We are less than 2 weeks until Avengers Infinity War is in theaters, and we're girding our hearts for the impending Marvel Cinematic Universe doom that is likely to happen. Which heroes will live? Which will die? Which heroes will we think are dead until they miraculously rise from the grave? The list of questions is endless with no answers in sight until April 27th. But there are even more questions that will still go unanswered, even after we've seen and processed Infinity War, like what is the title of the follow-up flick of 2019 Avengers 4? The title has been more guarded than the location of the Soul Stone because even the cast of the film doesn't know what Avengers 4 will be called. Now, most folks were expecting that we would be keyed into the secretive film title at the end of Avengers 3, maybe in a post-credit scene, but while on their Avengers press tour, the directing duo, the Russo brothers, squashed that dream. In an interview with Yahoo Movies UK, when asked about the untitled fourth Avengers movie, Joe Russo said that it's going to be quite a long while before people see that title. We need people to see this movie, digest this movie, and then we can tell them what the next story is they're going to see. Which absolutely makes sense, since we know that the title of the next film will be a big spoiler in and of itself, and if you spoil the spoiler right on the back end of Infinity War, you have a chain reaction of spoilers. And judging from that note, the Russos released a few weeks back asking fans to be cool and not spoil things on the internet. They're going to do everything that they can to keep the Avengers 4 title under wraps. It also points to the fact that Disney and Marvel have moved away from the notion that Avengers 3 and 4 are parts 1 and 2 of the same film. Joe and Anthony have made it pretty clear that the two films are their own stories, saying, "We really wanted to make two distinct movies. We weren't interested in making one long film and getting out the scissors and cutting it in half." So, no, it wouldn't make any sense at all to leak the Avengers 4 title at the end of Infinity War, since both stories will stand alone. But besides all of the work that they're doing to keep us unsullied for May 2019, we're also hearing from the bros that the MCU will see some, quote, pretty drastic changes. Joe even went so far as to say that Phase 4 will be massively different. "I think that this is if Marvel has been writing a book for 10 years, it's the end of the book and someone is going to write a new book. How will we deal with the MCU we've come to know and love undergoing a major shift in the next decade?" So while we've all been freaking out about how drastically the MCU is going to change after Infinity War, now it's looking like Avengers 4 will be the epicenter of all that change. That's where all the real shakeups are going to happen. Not just ending a chapter of the book, but closing the entire dang book itself, allowing someone else to start a brand new book once Phase 4 kicks off. But then that's left us wondering, what could these changes possibly be? What could alter the face of the MCU so drastically that it's basically a completely different story? Well, in our estimation, this is all leading up to a major player leaving the franchise, and no, we are not talking about the death of Iron Man or Cap, even if those events are still very much in play. We're talking about someone who the MCU as we know it just couldn't possibly survive without Kevin Feige. Yes, Feige has been with the MCU for over a decade now, and while serving as the main creative force behind the most successful film franchise of all time must feel pretty rewarding, 10 years is still a long time to do anything. We could definitely see him getting restless after all this time and maybe looking for some other toy box to play in. And he's been pretty open about the fact that he really doesn't have much planned for the MCU beyond the conclusion of Phase 3. His game plan goes right up until 2019, and that's just kinda stops. Except for a Spider-Man sequel here or a Guardian sequel there, which, let's face it, would probably be happening no matter who was in charge of the MCU. But where could he go to next? How do you stop creating the movie franchise that literally rewrote the playbook on movie franchises? Well, maybe by saving a dying movie franchise. From Joss Whedon to Brian Michael Bendis, Warner Brothers has been poaching Marvel talent left and right lately, and the ultimate end to all that would just be scooping up Feige himself. But who knows? Maybe Feige's done with superheroes. Maybe he wants to see what he can do with a completely new genre. At this point, he could pretty much have any franchise that he wanted. But what do you folks think? What do you think the title of Avengers 4 is? Does the end of Phase 3 mean Kevin Feige will abandon Marvel? And if he does, what would you like to see him take over next? Let's discuss. And be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to smash that little bell. And did you catch our new show, Nerdist News Edition? It's the weekend version of Nerdist News where we take a break from our typical topics to get in depth about everything that you love. This week, we got up close and personal with the new Mars rover. You can check it out on Nerdist YouTube and Facebook right now.